Hello everyone, wait. Sorry, this is not the right mood. Give me just 1 second. Greetings everyone. I am the very spooky EternalOpossum, and we will be talking about some frights and fears all the way back when I was just but a wee little baby. Okay, I can't do that whole voice for this video, I'm not funny enough. The Halloween season is here, and by this point, you probably will have realized I hold horror in pretty high regard. Horror has always had a pretty big impact on my life, from the movies I watched, to the games I played. Horror has always been something I greatly enjoyed. In fact, if I had the ability to do anything in the world right now, it's make a horror movie. That's how much I love horror. I just live for that stuff. But what got me into the idea of horror in the first place despite me being a little bitch? In other words, what are some moments from my childhood that scared me so bad that I initially didn't want anything to do with horror, but now I just can't get enough of it? Well, I'm going to answer that question with just a few throwbacks. Some of you may recognize these and understand where I'm coming from, while others you may look at me and wonder if I'm actually insane. Before we go any further, however, I'm just going to make a very quick disclaimer. I was a weird as hell kid. Granted, I'm still weird, but man, back then I definitely feel like the baby food I was being fed was drugged with something. Because how the hell did I get through life when I react to scary situations with much subtlety as an atom bomb? Case in point,
If there's something strange in the neighborhood, who you gonna call?
now the first Ghostbusters has a fair number of scary scenes, from the library demon, to the I believe it's magic scene, to... But the one scene I distinctly remember actually came from the only other Ghostbusters movie I've seen, Ghostbusters 2. It's when the baby gets kidnapped by the main bad guy of the film. I used to be downright terrified of this scene, and I do not remember why. My best guess is that I just subconsciously put myself in that baby's shoes, and I came to the conclusion that shit is terrifying. And I dealt with that feeling by taking the disc out and throwing out the second story window of my house. I was very dramatic back then. Still am. Okay, here's one that I'm sure a lot of people remember. Do you guys remember Goosebumps, the live-action TV series from '95? Of course you do, who wouldn't? Now, I never was actually an avid watcher of Goosebumps, but I do know there was a lot of things that were scary to kids. I could bring up Welcome to Dead House, The Haunted Mask, even Slappy the Dummy. But it was actually none of these, because there was one scene of the series I do remember because it instilled a fear in me that persists to this day. Giant-ass bugs. So it was around October 2008, and I had just finished watching a total drama episode. It was the one where Cody got eliminated because for some reason I like seeing my favorites get eliminated. And I don't know what caused this, but it cut to a random Goosebumps episode that, from what I know now, is called Awesome Ants. The scene I remember is where the main character is running around and encounters a giant-ass ant that picks him up by the torso and drags him into some green room. I think it was just how slow it was, almost as if it were taking its time. I think that's the part that really did freak me out. And the fact that Ant is fucking giant. Hell, I never even finished the episode, I was that scared. And you know what, that may have been for the best because if I did finish it, I don't think trick-or-treating would have been on the mind. But do you want to know the real kicker of this? The thing that makes this experience weirdly tragic to me? I used to be really into bugs when I was a kid. Seriously, I remember waddling down to the school library, picking out a book about bugs, and then hyper-focusing on the wasp section for minutes on end. I was not afraid of fucking wasps back then. Thanks, Goosebumps, for making me more of a coward. Although knowing wasps, I might be thanking you because kid me was an idiot. Also, in case you were wondering, no, I was not scared of Wormy from SpongeBob. The only times I really remember seeing it as a kid was when I was obsessed with bugs, so the jump scare didn't really faze me. Ah, Jumanji. Who doesn't remember Jumanji aside from people who don't remember Jumanji? Granted, I don't have as many fond memories as its sister movie Sathura, but I remember liking the movie as a kid. Hell, even to this day, I think it's way better than whatever this is. That being said, though, there was a lot of nightmare fuel in this movie, and I'm not talking about how badly the CGI aged. I could talk about the lion, Van Pelt, the giant ass bugs because that's starting to become a theme here. Hell, even when Alan gets sucked into the game. But nope, what really scared me was this fucking plant thing. It tries to eat the kid, and this used to scare the living piss out of me. I think it was because, as a kid, I kind of knew that the CGI was not that great, so like, a lot of the stuff I would probably be scared of lost its charm because I knew it wasn't real. But this plant thing looked way better than a lot of the other creatures in the movie. Therefore, I just got this fear of being eaten alive by a plant with an anus for a mouth. I think what didn't help back then was that my blanket was plant themed, so I consistently have nightmares of the plants spawning under my blanket and boring me. It got so bad that I had to get a new blanket just so the nightmares would stop. So thanks a lot, plants, for making my parents get rid of a perfectly fine blanket. You know, if that plant could talk, I think it could tell me what else it's thinking of that traumatized me as a child. Well, fuck it in a bucket. Indiana Jones is a film series that I love with all my heart. I started watching the series all the way back in 2008, which just so happened to be perfect timing for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull to come out. Even if its final two outings may people consider to be weaker than the original trilogy, I can't help but love them, and also that's going to inspire me to make an Indiana Jones video at some point. Based on what we've discussed so far, you can imagine what scared me the most from the series was something like Dovchenko being made into a meal for ants, but nope. Is the infamous Kalima sacrifice scene. In Indiana Jones and the Temple of Scenes that aged extremely poorly, the introduction we get to Molo Ram sees him chant that infamous incantation before ripping the guy's still being heart out and lowering him into a pit of fire. Now the crazy thing was that the whole Kalima scene, that didn't frighten me as a kid. I was just mostly engaged because even as a kid, I knew that Molo Ram was super cool. But it was the sacrifice itself that scared me. Just the feeling of being lowered down into your doom, aka New Jersey, without any chance to escape, and all you could do is watch as it slowly happens, that's just scary. In fact, I think what really defined my childhood fears was just the anticipation for the end. I mean, think about it. Goosebumps had the long-ass scene of the ant, Temple of Doom had the drawn-out sacrifice, and one other movie also has a long sequence that scared me. Man, is there anything from my childhood that I remember fondly? Oh yes, Scooby-Doo is a classic. This series was what I consider to be the first introduction to anything remotely scary when I was a kid. So, thanks Scooby. Scooby-Doo has actually always held a very special place in my heart, and no matter how many spin-offs it has, or terrible direct-to-DVD movies it has, or even the existence of this, I can't bring myself to hate it. I mean, how can I hate the very first thing I remember typing into my computer? Actually, speaking of that, one of the earliest memories I had when I was a kid was playing Scooby-Doo Flash games. I remember a lot of these, like Creepy Castle, Ghost Pirate, but if you played any Scooby-Doo Flash game around the early to mid 2000s, then you might remember this little gem. Scooby-Doo Escape from the Coulsonian. Now this game seems like any other Scooby-Doo Flash game. Hell, about the only thing that really sets it apart from first glance is the fact it was made to promote the second Scooby-Doo movie. However, anyone who remembers this game may remember one particular moment from the game. One moment from the game that lives in the nightmares of many young kids. Hello. Yeah, I'm not gonna be that cruel and subject you to that, unlike the developers, because Jesus Christ, the fact they made the text that small to sucker kids in before pulling a jump scare on them. I want to play Scooby-Doo, not the scary maze game. Also, fun fact, that's an actual photo of a mummy. Segkenra Ta is the name, which means that Scooby-Doo is technically jump scaring you with a corpse. Who made this game? Hannibal Lecter? Mr. Hyde?
Mr. Hyde!
Oh, hello. You look healthy. Do any of you remember The Pagemaster? It was a pretty okay film, all things considered, but back then, man, I loved this movie, so I can't bring myself to hate it. But this moment I could just not watch when I was a kid, and based on what just happened, you know what I'm talking about. The titular Mr. Hyde segment used to scare the hell out of me when I was a kid. The build up to it, the transformation, and then the reveal of those eyes. Jesus Christ, man. I think it was the eyes that did it in for me. Like, they were just so red. And that's really all I have to say about Mr. Hyde. Yeah, if you're wondering why I kind of skimmed over this segment, it's mainly because I'm not very scared of it nowadays. Like, yes, that's to be expected with a lot of childhood stuff, but even then, a lot of the stuff I mentioned still unnerves me just a tiny bit. Not Mr. Hyde. Instead, it looks like he's got conjunctivitis. He's not that scary to me nowadays. But the next one, oh boy. Okay, so we're nearly out of time. So for the final thing from my childhood that scared me, I think it's best to talk about the movie that has not only scared me probably the most out of everything we've talked about so far, but also the main reason why I want to do this video in the first place. Some of you may remember a few weeks ago that I put out a question on my channel asking anyone if they ever heard of The Seventh Brother. I asked countless people, from good friends of mine to even some of my family members, and yet not a single person has ever heard of it. But what is The Seventh Brother? Well, it's a Hungarian animated movie that stars Tiny the dog after he gets separated from his owners and takes refuge with a rabbit family, some of which are made to realize that they can't get characterization if they all look the same, so they put wigs on. All the while, Tiny and the rabbits have to contend with the dangers of the woods. And there is a big emphasis on the whole danger part, because this movie will hammer into your skull that danger is all around. How do I know this? Because the movie has a whole fucking song about it. Now the song itself is admittedly pretty creepy, well with all the talking about how danger is all around you and to be afraid. However, things only get worse as the song is accompanied by one of the rabbits by the name of JC, who is also the only rabbit I actually remember, turning into some nightmare demon with a unibrow. Man, foreign films are hardcore. In fact, it's so hardcore that I'm actually going to talk about another scene in this film. It's a scene that scared me so badly that not only did I never see past this point in the movie, not only did I get nightmares of it, but it caused me to share a room with my sibling for years afterwards. So, not that much longer after the danger's all around bit, JC goes into a field and gets attacked by a hawk. And that damn hawk freaked me out. The way it just slowly descends for what feels like an eternity, JC's reactions, and those damn eyes. Those goddamn eyes. This isn't just a case of conjunctivitis, that's the look of someone who's ready to kill and eat was essentially a kid. Or it could just be conjunctivitis and I'm looking way too deep into it. But yeah, this scene in particular scared me so badly when I was a kid that I had to share a room with my sibling because I kept having nightmares about it. Yes, I was a little bitch back then, and before you ask, yes, I still am. Okay, well, that's that. A bunch of things from my childhood that scared me, and now you have blackmail material on me. But you know what? Even if these things did scare me as a child, I'm almost kind of glad they did, because it gives me a reason to look back at them and really appreciate them from a more adult point of view. Hell, I don't think I've seen anyone talk about The Seventh Brother or Page Master in years. So, it was nice to revisit them. And you know what? I'll take any, and I mean any, opportunity to gush about my love for Indiana Jones. You will not underestimate my love for that series. Anyway, that'll be it for me. If you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. EternalOpossum, out.